Hi, it's Friday morning at about 10 o'clock, and so it's time once again for relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. There'll be some painting today. There'll also be some sanding, and there'll be some groaning and oopsing, probably, because I'll show you what will be happening. So those of you who have fun on Halloween, I hope you did. Those of you who didn't, well, some people enjoy it and some people don't. But those of you who enjoy it, I hope you had a good time. We had an explosion of children in our neighborhood over the last 2 years, and it was really busy last night. Sorts of little kids, preschool kids. It was kind of surprising. Change in the neighborhood, because like 5 years ago, there were hardly any. But our neighborhood is like that. It comes in waves, kids grow up, they go off to college, empty nesters, sell their houses to younger people who are just starting families. And we're on one of those waves, but it was kind of fun. It was fun to have trick-or-treaters come by. So today, I'm just working on these parts as they come along, and eventually they'll come together. I can promise you that they will come together. This is the stuff I'm working on here. These parts plus these itsy bitsy little things here. I guess I can turn this over now, so you can see the inside. This is the inside of the airplane. The body of the airplane actually fits on this. I haven't tested it. I hope it fits. It's supposed to anyway. And it comes off to reveal the interior detail. And all of this stuff, plus a few other pieces, are the interior detail. So there's just a lot of stuff that needs to be done, and sometimes the order will actually make a difference. And in this case, it does. These parts here, form the body of the cockpit. Somehow they go like this, and then this goes in the front and this goes in the back. I haven't tested those. I probably should. And at some point sooner than later, anyway, they go like this, and on the inside there are control devices like a trim wheel and some throttle, maybe. I'm not sure. And these are supposed to be wooden frames, and those are metal attachment points. These little bits here are the things that go on there. They're pretty tiny, and they're actually pretty detailed as well. And I actually need to get these parts done, which means prepped, getting rid of the sprue, extra plastic, and painting them. And all but one are going to be painted multiple colors, so that's going to take a little while. They need to be painted front and back, and they're really tiny, so I'll be painting the back and then turning them over and painting the front, the base color, and then painting the detail onto that. And then they need to attach, and the reason they all need to attach first is because I'll show you on this one. You can see the attachment point there, that little hole there, and there's one there. Well, on the other side, there are holes. And the other side, when you take the canopy off, actually, it's like this. It shows a lot, right? And you can't just have little holes there where there's not supposed to be any. So these pieces need to be prepped, painted, and the painting will be at least 3 steps, and attached. And once they're attached, those holes need to be filled in. The filler needs to set, sanded off, and then this whole thing repainted. Okay. So it's all of that just for those little bits. It is what it is. The inside of this and the frames, including these frames, need to be washed with a brown wash. And just to give you an example of that, I have two pieces that are done, and the brown wash is on there, and you can see it's kind of a subtle difference. Okay. But this doesn't look like wood. It looks like putty. With the brown wash on it, it looks more like wood. It gives it some color and some texture. So this needs to be washed. These all need to be washed. A lot of that will be done a little bit later because I have to get these done before I can get these done, and I have to get these done before I can attach them. So there's no sense washing this whole thing until it's pretty much ready to go. The other things that I'll be working on, these will kind of be set aside. The cushion on the seat needs to be painted. I might put a second coat of paint on this. It looks, I don't know, for some reason it doesn't look very good. I think I might do that. And I'm going to do some washing and some detail on the guns. There's these little bits here. I'm going to highlight those with a darker color. Just to do it because they're there. And then the seat cushion will be done. So, there's just a lot of little things to do. One other thing I'm going to do, and it's kind of an annoyance that I need to do it, but I do after looking at it, is, I'll show that. I'm going to put this on here so I can put a second coat of paint on it. It just doesn't look quite right. And there's a little indentation on the back there. There was a big divot here on the back that needed to be filled in, and I got it pretty well, but there's that'll have to stay. But here, I didn't see it until I painted it with the metallic, and then metallics will show flaws. They just will. So surface prep becomes this huge thing. There's where the two parts of the mold come together, some little plastic oozes out because the molds don't fit 100%, and there's always that. Well, there is right across the top of the band. Okay. And when you take the fuselage off, this is like one of the biggest and first things you see, and it shouldn't be there. I mean, this is a single piece. And so I am going to, I didn't want to, but there really isn't any choice. I really have to. I'm going to sand those flaws down, and repaint it. And that won't take a lot of time. I say that as though it's true. It'll probably take like 15 minutes, right? Which is a fair amount of time, but it's just so obvious, and it's so obviously wrong. I'm just kind of annoyed by that. So there's lots of bits of stuff to do, but a lot of the assembly here is just simply not going to happen until these bits are done. There's even yet more bits. There's more bits that sit on the bottom of this, but those just sort of get attached before the canopy is put on. This is a whole sub-assembly. Yeah, what am I umming about? What I'm umming about is that these three little bits need to be finished in order to get them on here. In order to get them on here, I need to do that before I can fill in the holes, and then the hole filler needs to be set, and then it needs to be painted. So I don't know how long it's going to take, but I need to start with these so that I can even just begin that. In the meantime, I can put a second coat of paint on the fuel tank. I can sand these down and repaint them, and then put aluminum paint on that. I can get the guns done. There's lots of things I can be doing. While I mess around with these. One thing now here, I'm going to bring this box up here. It's a little clumsy, okay? But the reason I'm bringing this box up here is I'm going to be working on these pieces inside the box. Porco Rosso figure. I have two minifigs. The standing one that goes on the outside, it's just sitting there posing, and I've got a sitting down one that needs to be prepared. It came with its head off, so I need to get that. I have to find it somewhere. I don't remember. I don't know where it is. Huh. It's the one that sits inside the cockpit. I'm sure it's somewhere. Get these pieces out of the way so I can work inside the box. And I'm going to work inside the box because if I drop these pieces, I want them to not fall on the floor. I want them to not fall on the floor because I want to be able to find them again. Hi, Ole. Thanks for dropping in. You're here a little early today. Yeah, these are small. And they've got plastic from the sprue on them that needs to come off. I probably should test fit them. No kidding. That's pretty cool. I know that I used to work for a place that for a little while, not very long, gave people their birthday off. That turned out to be like people should work sometimes, but congratulations. That's really cool. Here's some more little bits. Yet more little pieces. Oh yeah, that's a special one. Yet more little pieces that need to be worked on at some point in the near future. But they're not a top priority like these are. Well, I was one of those people that when I turned 66 at work, I think it was, I got all the rest of the days off. They weren't paid days off though. They were just like perpetual days off. I can barely see these things. This is going to be a challenge. Oh, I have to laugh. I can barely see them. I'm not sure how I'm going to hold them in order to do what needs to be done to get the sprue plastic off and it polished down. I can hardly even show. I'm going to lift the whole box up. I don't know if it'll focus or not, but you know they're tiny, and you can see that there's detail on them. There's a lever on this one that ratchets across. So there's I'm going to paint the inside of it and then highlight some of that detail. This one has also something on it. It looks like I'm not sure. I'll have to look at it through the head magnifier. It's so small that I can't really see it. But it's something. Oh, wow. Yeah, there it is. And then they're painted dark gray on the back, so I'll flip them over and paint the back gray. I'm going to paint them on here. They'll probably stick a little bit, and then I'll turn them over and paint the other side. And at some point, I will have to test fit them. You know, yeah, that is really a privilege. I know that's kind of the case in a lot of Europe. In the U.S., I don't think there's a law that says you have to have paid vacation at all. I really don't know. Generally, if you get paid, oh, like people working part-time or, independent contractors, I had to do it like that. People get 2 weeks. I know my dad worked for like 30 plus years and he never got, I don't know, maybe at the end he got 3 weeks of vacation, of paid vacation. 37 hours, yeah, as opposed to like 45, maybe, technically 40 plus overtime, unless one is salaried and employers go out of their way to either make you a contractor or salaried, 40 plus hours. Europe, Denmark is one of them, but Europe is a lot more civilized. U.S. productivity is higher, but it comes at a price. I don't have a choice. I really do need to put these on. I've not used these for part prepping before, but these pieces are so tiny that I need to do it just to see what needs. Oh, okay. Well, this will be interesting. So then I retired and got all sorts of unpaid days off. Like every day became an unpaid day off. And now I've got an unpaid part-time job of relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons. Maybe some benefactor out there. Is there some major benefactor out there who wants to go to patreon.com/Dyson Dungeons and become like a super patron and make this a paid job? I'm going to guess not, but why not? Ask anyway. Well, these parts are more visible at 2x than they are at no x. Did you do anything special on your day off, or did you just like take a day off? Or was this one of those days where you had to transport children to all sorts of things? Let's find it down. Um, yeah, that's true. So the retirement age is fairly high at 68 now. But yeah, I think, here in the United States, there's this thing called Social Security, which is sort of like a pension, I guess, but it doesn't come anywhere close to replacing wages. This is probably too fine to be using on this. I imagine the wages are pretty reasonable, though. I remember in Norway, well, in the United States, service workers really are highly dependent on tips. Okay? But I remember in Norway and in Japan, there wasn't really tipping expected because people were paid, enough to live on. Well, that's right. Taxes are pretty high, but you know, you do get things for them for your taxes, so it's worthwhile. So you're going to be playing. So you're painting. You're painting a mini for yourself, right? The mini is your character. Yeah, I think even if the prices are higher, the whole tipping thing is, well, people are really dependent on it here in the States. So I'm not going to get into it too much, and I don't think it's so ingrained in the whole wage structure for a lot of things that it's almost impossible to think that it could be any different here. But I know in Europe, in Norway, it was not expected. In Japan, at least when we went there, it was actually like it was more than frowned upon. It was almost considered insulting. Tipping tipping meant that you were insulting the employee and employer because you were saying that they weren't paying the right wage. No, you're not. That is, if you come from a place where you don't do that, and you come to a place here where tipping is actually quite extravagant. It used to be, this is a used to, when I was growing up, a 10% tip was kind of like the maximum. Nowadays, a 10% tip is almost like an insult. 15% is kind of minimum expected, and 20 at least 20% is common now. So it must be pretty weird when you come from a place where you just don't tip to go to a place where you add 20% at the end of the bill. And you're never really sure, right? Um, do you tip people at fast food places or not? It's not, as opposed to like a sit down restaurant. And it looks like I got this okay. The edges are smooth. This is a little wheel. If I know airplanes at all, this is like a trim wheel. Hmm. Could paint. This is supposedly just painted dark gray. But it's not a single piece of metal. To decide whether to try to do something special with it or not. So your D&D session, you're going to be a player. So I'll ask a few things. One is the mini is for your character, and what is it? What is your character? And then is this going to be an ongoing thing or just like a one-off? Yeah, that is kind of a big deal. Is making sure that the price includes the sales tax or the VAT. Otherwise, you're actually getting kind of cheated. I know that was recently a big deal in the cruise industry. Is that people were thinking they were paying a certain price, and then it turned out that the price they were paying didn't include all sorts of things like port fees and uh, other other fees that are added on, um, leading to a lot of well, just a lot of misunderstanding and sometimes anger, because those things for some cruises added up to be a lot. Ah, okay. I'll have to take a look at it. A human fighter. Are you going to be able to use the table you made for your session? I'll look that up after this today. And that was a good example of why I am working on the tray. Yeah, that part just popped right out of my fingers. So you're going to be meeting new people and playing D&D with them. That should be kind of fun. That should be interesting. How many are in the group? And is this going to be a one shot, or is this something that you're going to try to carry on kind of regularly? This was going quickly, but now it's not. I shouldn't. I should let you be painting your mini instead of asking all sorts of questions. So if any of you are watching this like on YouTube or something and you aren't catching Ole Braggers, YouTube, do that because his show is really cool. Uh, he paints minis, yes, but builds all sorts of models, does his own scenery, dioramas. Um, a while ago, built an entire table for playing D&D with like stations for tablets. Just and it's not like this. Oh, you're done painting. Okay, relaxing is good. I'm in favor of that. So I'll help you relax with some relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. What is this? I don't know what this part is, but it also has some detail on it. This is going to be fairly easy to prep because the screw was attached to the tab that attaches to the parts. Okay, that was another good reason to work over the tray. Okay, so I was wondering if it was just doing just a one shot or whether you're going to have like a regular session going. I'm going to keep this because I'm going to work on sanding some other parts. 3 different versions. Did you buy the models and then paint them? Okay, I'm going to be test fitting these parts in here, And I don't know. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good supplier. I'm looking at the instructions so I can see which parts are supposed to go where. Otherwise, I'll be attempting to fit them in a place where they're not designed to fit. Okay, this one is this one. I don't know how I'm supposed to cement these in. Okay, it's a good thing I'm test fitting these because my fingers don't work. Yeah, this is pretty funny. There we go. Oh, okay. That one fits. That's how it goes on there. Okay. Um, wheel is on this thing. Okay, this is tiny part fumbling day, but definitely good thing to be working inside this box. Okay, eventually the little prong got in the little hole, so that fits. That goes on there like that. That's pretty cool. And then this bit is oh, okay. It was totally wrong. I thought that I can't tell. It looks like the tab. I can't tell if that's supposed to be on there or not. I guess it is. I'm looking. Again, what I'm talking about is, I don't know if you can see it in the top there. There's this rectangular tab, little tiny tab, and I couldn't tell whether it was supposed to be on there or not. Um, I guess it is. It looks out of place, but it's definitely molded on. Hmm. This is there were some parts like this on the submarine, but none of them were this challenging. And I don't mean just, I mean challenging to even get hold of, much less paint. Even the little chairs, the tiny little chairs were not as difficult. Okay, they fit. And I know that I'm going to do more than just paint them gray because I want the detail to show, especially on things like that. Okay, well, it's how long did that take? Really, I'm going on for 45 minutes, and all I've done was sanded off some little bits and get these pieces to see if they fit. Wow. Now I need to unfit them. Those are the backs. You can see the back shows. So the back shows, so the back has to be painted. These parts are now going to be set aside again because I don't need them until I actually put these on. Okay, I'm going to paint the backs of these, and I'm going to keep my head magnifier on because it'll be really easy to like miss spots. Try to hold them and well, anyway, yeah, this is challenging. All right, so I'm going to paint the backs of these, and when it's dry, I'll turn them over and paint the fronts. I'm going to paint them all this dark gray, but then I'm going to, after the dark gray drops, paint the detail, like some of the lever handles, maybe some of those sprockets or something. Paint them on this paper. There will be paint that gets on the paper, and then I will move them away from the paint. I don't want to get paint all over. No, I don't want to make a mess of them. And I'm trying to get. I need to paint the tabs, but I want to paint the edges. Well, way too much paint. So that was kind of messily done. Brushing the paint off. I had too much paint on the brush. And then, yeah. Parts are so tiny that the paint adheres to them. The little bit of adhesion from the paint It just holds on to them. I didn't bother priming these because I would, I don't, I would just blow them away. I know that the odds are really high. I would have just lost them. Okay, well, now they're gray. Well, hi, Enforcer. Did the sound go out? Yeah, I don't know. We had a power outage yesterday. Um, it didn't last very long. It was like 15 minutes. It was enough for the computers that didn't have UPSs, like the one that's running this. It was enough to knock them all off, and then the programs that were on it did not shut down properly. I guess that's the message that it all gave. So I was unsure today whether anything would be working or not. So I'm glad that it's mostly working. Yeah. So just to give you a sense of scale, teeny little parts. These are the tiny little parts that are going to be attached to the inside of the frame of the cockpit, and they have to be painted on both sides. Wait for that to dry. I'll flip them over, base coat the other side, and then do some detail painting on the other side as well. So that'll take a while, and then after those are done, I'll attach them to the frames, and once they're attached to the frames, I'll fill in the holes in the back, and once that has cured or dried, depending on what I end up using. Okay. So you're back to the Dragon Rider character now. Well, I'm waiting for this to dry before I paint the other side. I'm going to go back to these. These turned out, once I painted the metallic on it, I saw that there was a mold seam right through the band, the band that's holding the fuel tank down onto the floor of the cockpit. And I can even see it without the magnifier. And it just looks not good. It doesn't look good. So I didn't want to, but I decided that I need to sand it off. See, okay. So like Fauna, you name the character before you just come up with descriptions. So I'll be sanding off the paint that I already put on. Kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. And I probably need to put my head magnifiers on for this too. The color's dark, and the lighting isn't all that good, and my eyesight is not all that great. But yeah, the line on there is just really, really obvious, and you can really see it as I'm rubbing the paint off. It's one of those things where one side is slightly higher than the other. Lovely, huh? I didn't know that either, but I can tell that now as I'm sanding it, just the way the paint comes off. The the this side is higher than this side, and you can see it here. There's a thin white line. There's a thin white line. The primer underneath, so you can really see it here. I'm just reading what you're writing. It was a long text, and my eyes are really not working at all today. No, no, Ole's on, but I think Ole likes to see what you're saying. He's putting a character together for a D&D campaign that's coming up this weekend. It's a human fighter, and he might want to join in and give some ideas. Could use the 800 grit on this. I think I'm going to try that. It'll go a little faster. Get all these little pieces of sandpaper that I'm conserving for reasons. And that's the 150. So you get to watch me look through scraps here. There's the 800. I don't think this will leave a lot of scratch marks. The surface area is really tiny, but I think it'll go somewhat faster. This is going to take forever. Sorry. I didn't expect this to happen, but I should have. I should have anticipated that there would be a seam somewhere from the mold. And it is, and it's just, you can even see the remnant of it here. Okay. So was training to be a fighter. Okay, I didn't. You need to work with your strengths. Sometimes, no matter what your aspirations are, you might have to change your mind depending on your, what talents you actually end up having. Okay, so that one's off. These are a little bit difficult to get to. But that's going to look much better without the seam on it. But to go all the way around this, get the little corners and edges. Something to do while the paint is drying, right? Does Zuri mean something as a name? Or is it just a name that you like? Just curious. wonder if I should prime this again. Sometimes I do shortcuts like this. I'm messing up the primer on here. I think it'll be okay though. So as I'm sanding and watching paint dry, when I get one of these done, I'm going to flip these little bits over and paint the other side just to keep it moving. I was talking about the 100 series of fighters, and I got up to the F-111. They were naming them sequentially, so there must have been prototypes or tests, sometimes X-planes, test planes. I'm pretty sure there was an F-107. It didn't go into production. I don't know what happened to 8, 9, and 10. But the 111 wasn't the last. Was not the last in the 100 series. The last one was the F-117, which wasn't really a fighter at all. It was a fighter bomber, and it was the famous stealth fighter that was highly secret. This was a true Area 51 thing. F-117. I think, what was it called? Nighthawk? I think it was the Nighthawk. The weird plane with all the very sharp angles all over it that looked like it couldn't fly, which was actually true. It was so aerodynamically unstable because of the stealth stuff they put on it that the only way it would stay airborne is because of computer controls that could react so quickly to its instability. But it really was. It was an Area 51 super, super deep top secret thing. And it was unveiled years after it was developed. It actually went into service. It was operational for a while. I think it might have actually been flown in combat. When would that have been? Iraq, maybe? Desert Storm? I'm not sure when it was developed, but I know the F4, they gave up on the 100s and went back to single-digit numbers again with the F4 Phantom. That was way back in Vietnam during the 70s. So just based on the numbering, I'm guessing that the stealth fighter bomber was in development, like way early on. And it probably took a whole lot of iterations before they got it to be as stealthy as they did. But it was a super duper top secret sort of thing where they tested, using angles to, instead of having the radar reflect back to the radar emitter, and just scattered off all over the place. And apparently it was really quite effective. The stories I heard about it, though, I think it was the Nighthawk. So the SR-71 used some of the same technology, angularity, but also what was important was the coating. This stuff that went on the outside, the paint, essentially, actually has a big effect on the absorption of radar absorbing and just moving on to the next bit here. Radar absorption and not deflection, scattering. And, it's supposed to fly at night, so there was that too. So one story I heard about the colors of the planes, I don't know if this is true or not, it's kind of a fun thing, is that apparently the most difficult color to see at night is sort of a bluish black. Okay. And it was just, people didn't, the brass, and maybe even some of the pilots, I'm not sure, didn't like the color. It was like, we can't, this is a night fighter. You can't have it like they be this bluish color. So they went with black paint because, that was a hiding at night kind of thing. At least that's the story I read somewhere once, that there was that they're not using the best color for night flying because people didn't like it. That might be true. Be kind of fun if it was. The thing I've learned here is that when you're dealing with little seams like this, it's easier to see if it's cleaned up or not if it's already been painted, at least with the primer. But I'm glad I'm cleaning these off because as I'm doing this, as I'm sanding it down, I'm seeing just how visible they really were. It's just unfortunate that I have to spend a lot of your time sanding down mold seams in a place where I didn't know they were going to be. Okay, well, I've got those bits done now. I need to get the very top of it, which is the part that shows the most. So I'm bringing up the F-117 because it was, as far as I know, the very last of the 100 series, at least in the Air Force. And then things went on to the F4, and there was an F5. It was used as a trainer, as a two-engine trainer, but also in service in a lot of foreign air forces. It was an export sort of thing. And the next one of any importance was the F-14. So somewhere between 4 and 14, I don't know what happened there. The F-14 was a Navy plane, Navy and Marines. It used the swing wing technology that similar to that was used on the F-111. It was apparently it had two engines. It was a very powerful plane. At this point in airplane development, having jet engine technology had moved along really quite well, and having these incredibly power to weight ratio jet engines, and they allowed heavier planes that could carry more ordnance. The F-14 had the swing wing because it had to go on a carrier, and given its weight, in order to slow it down so it could land on the carrier, it had to slow down. It the wings swung out. It was a really big plane compared to some of the other carrier planes. Oh yeah, the F-7s and F-8s. Those were Navy planes, but the Corsair, I didn't pay attention to the Navy planes that much. You know, I don't know why not. Because we were an Air Force family, I guess. But yeah, there was a huge development in naval aviation as well that I'm ignoring because I'm not that familiar with it. But that's what happened to a lot of those numbers between the F4 and the F-14. It was a Corsair and a Cutlass. All designed, some of them were designed to be interceptors, like the 104, 2, and 6 were, to get up there and attack, and some were more designed to be air superiority kinds of things. The F-14 was supposed to be like a multi-purpose thing. It was an interceptor, but it also could carry a lot of ordnance. It was a very heavy, powerful plane. And the F-15 was an Air Force plane, the Eagle. At the time, it was setting records. It was way overpowered. And the F-16, the Falcon, both the 15 was the 14 went out of service because they were, the swing wing thing just added a lot of complexity. And although people loved the plane, I guess, the people who flew it, it just wasn't competitive with like the F-18, a Hornet, which evolved into the Super Hornet, which is still the major Navy fighter plane to date. The F-15 had the same sort of fate, I think, as the F-14, although some of them are still flying. The the Cutlass and Corsair, they were actually kind of weird looking planes. Look, if you want to, you can look them up. Okay, well, this one is now officially sanded down. I need to clean it. My fun tack, that's what this is, got pushed in. That fun tack may just stay there forever. Right. I'm going to wash this with some isopropyl alcohol and repaint it. I'm going to paint the other side of these and then clean this one up. By the time I'm done with that, it's going to be, time passes quickly when one is doing little dinky things like this. Okay, the other side is going to be even, I learned how to put the toothpick on the little point that ends up attaching the attachment point. And on this side, I don't have that luxury. So just keep these on all day. Okay, 5'4" is 5 feet 4 inches. So height is usually measured in feet and then inches. That's right. So 5'4" is 5 feet 4 inches, or what is it, 64 inches? Oh, in terms of your character development? Yeah, as I'm chatting here, I'm remembering that a lot of the Navy planes were they followed the same number sequence, but I wasn't that familiar with them because they were naval aviation and not Air Force aviation. So of course there was, F6 and F7. Not all the numbers got used. Okay, this is interesting. After this drive, it may end up having to touch up some spots that didn't get painted. It's hard for me when the toothpick is pulling away some of the paint. And this brush that looks really good under high magnification, it's not so great. The thing I read once pointed out that paint is just a pigmented adhesive, and dealing with these little parts here, the adhesive part of it is becoming very obvious. I'm sure there's a better way of doing this. I probably should use a pin. I should have used a pin. You know, it would not have adhered so much. I think the surfaces are gray. Like I said, I'm probably going to have to touch them up before as I do the detail. Probably as I do the detail, I'll have to touch some up anyway. The detail being some of the little levers and things on there that now have disappeared. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it. One is the symbols, foot and inches. Oh, great. Being irpy. Okay. Well, now I need to do the same thing to this one that I did to the other one. Well, in terms of numbers, I'm pretty sure there was an F-117 that came between the 16 and the 18. I get vague on the numbers because the latest one is an F-35. So there's just a whole lot of numbers. Oh, yeah. How could I miss it? The F-22. One of the most amazing planes that we've ever developed. very expensive. Partly, some of the reasons some of these things are really expensive, like the F-117 was over 100 million a piece or something, is because not very many of them were made, and because so much of it was experimental at the time. Okay, pretty much like every part was handmade. It wasn't a production line. Thanks for joining in. Maybe see you on Monday, Enforcer, and good luck with your characters. So it was like the most expensive plane, single cost plane ever made, at least in the fighter series. But when it came out of Area 51 and stopped being a secret, it was a big deal. And of course, by then it was, I've been flying so long, it was actually almost obsolete by the time we all found out about it, because things do progress. But the F-22 did a whole. It was designed to be an air superiority fighter. It was not just fly up and shoot down bombers. It was meant to control the air, the whole airspace, which meant things like taking out radar installations, anti-aircraft kinds of things, as well as taking down the other side's planes. So it wasn't designed to be a dogfighter, like in World War I, or even not very much. You think of dogfights as these planes circling each other. That actually was something everybody tried to avoid, because it was a good way of losing the fight. So the F-22 was designed to sneaky. Basically, it was designed to not be seen, to see you but not be seen by you, so that it would take down the opposing side's planes before it was even detected. It's like, oh, what the heck? And in combat simulations, where planes went up against each other using simulated weapons, not real weapons, it was very dominant. And it had so much electronic detection capability that even after it had used up its missiles, used up all of its ammunition, it would still, it could fly high and fast and dominate the sky by directing others to the targets. It it got canceled before they built as many as they wanted, because the per unit price was pretty high. I think a lot of decisions, maybe I shouldn't say this, but it does seem like a lot of decisions about what gets built and what doesn't, and how many, especially these really high cost things like airplanes, aren't decided based on what's really going to work in combat or not. It gives that impression. So one thing like I decided this is politics or what. The F-4 was one of those very rare planes that everybody flew. The Air Force flew them, the Navy flew them, the Marines flew them. They were used as fighter bombers. They were used as interceptors. They were used as air superiority fighters. Because it did a lot of things that were unique at the time, especially like having two engines so that there was some redundancy. And it was sort of, slightly overpowered. One plane that did a whole lot of things, and the F-35 Lightning came out, I think, because people remembered, oh, the F-4 did everything, let's just do that again. But it is, in fact, difficult. And it's a difficult thing to come up with one plane that can do all sorts of things. It's close air support, providing air support to troops on the ground, is kind of a different thing than flying at Mach 1.4 at 60,000 feet, trying to intercept incoming bombers. Anyway, for whatever reason, a decision was made to try to make one plane that did everything. And I think we're yet to see whether that works or not. But that's the story of the 100 series of fighters, the ones I grew up with. 100, 101, 102, 104, 105, 106, 111, and eventually 117. And if I'm missing any in there, it's because, apologies to the Navy, it's because they were naval planes and I wasn't familiar with them. Telling myself that when this is done, it will look better. Well, I know it will, having sanded off the mold seams. They're just very obvious and very annoying. This is all part of my effort to make this an A quality model, instead of just a B or a B plus. Big jump from B to A in terms of how the model is going to look. But especially parts that are highly visible. If this is like where the inside of something, if the mold seams were inside, they're not. Instead of outside, it would have been different. Why it's taking a long time to get this done is this kind of stuff. Hand cramp time comes from holding parts like this. What's going to happen, of course, is I'm going to go through all this trouble and I'm going to put the brown wash on and it's going to look crappy, right? And I am concerned about that. I'm not that good at doing the shading with the washes. Hoping that I do an okay job so that after I get this detail down and all of this sort of thing. That's kind of why with my minifigs, I tend not to wash them, is because I'm just not that good at it. And, spend hours and hours and hours doing detail painting and then messing it up by just splashing some sort of black goo on it, right? There's a little spot there, right there, that is not giving up. Highly visible things. There's the very tippy top. I'm done making this look presentable. I'm going to clean it off and then repaint it. Part of the issue with this mold seam is that, it wasn't, if it was like in the right place, if it would have been, oh yeah, that's how it was originally manufactured, meaning the band that's holding on the fuel tank. But it's not, it's not in the right place. It's not in a consistent location. And you can see the white there where it is. It becomes real evident as I'm cleaning it off. It becomes really clear where it has been. Fortunately, it's not a gigantic problem. It's not like the two parts were like a couple of parts on the Apollo and on a submarine where the two halves of the mold didn't match by a lot. Okay, and so there was a lot of sanding down to get the two parts even. At least isn't much. Say that just as I get to the last part here. It's all wiggly and hard to reach. It seems to be a recurring theme. It's like I don't know if you've ever had that situation. Okay, so you got two pieces that are bolted together, right? And it's old. and some of the bolts are a little rusty. So you get out your wrench and your screwdriver and you start taking the bolts off. And the first one is a little hard, and then you figure, oh, well, I've got the wrong technique. And then you get the right technique. And the next 7 of them come right off. And then there's one bolt left, and the head breaks off. You know, it's like you're almost done. Things have been going okay because you got the bolt removing technique down. And bang, disaster. It's amazing how often that happens. All right. Clean this up. And sanding dust all over this. I've got some propyl alcohol down here. And here I am. That was a whoa from, oh, okay. I got stiff. I got it from bending over. As I can, because just as the molding seam would show, the sanding dust would get in the paint, and that will show, especially with the metallics. With the bits of paper towel, if they're sticking to this, these little protrusions, there's bolts on here that are molded on that are designed to, hold the band in place. Really nice detail on these parts. Spoiled by really not nice molding seams. Feel irpy today. Maybe the caffeine is not settling quite well. I don't know if Ole's on anymore. I will need to check out his minifig that he has painted 3 of for his D&D campaign. And I want to check those out after the stream here. That's pretty good. I haven't broken anything. Here we go. An hour and a half into the show, what I have done is I have painted both sides of 3 little bits, and I have unpainted these 2 pieces. Wow. That's not real impressive, is it? Okay. I can't tell if that's a part that wasn't painted or if I don't know what that is. It's not good. I'm just looking at it. I'm getting a reflection in the spot where I shouldn't be getting a reflection. I don't understand that. Maybe the paint hasn't dried. I don't know. Okay. I'm going to go back to these guys here. I need to decide that this is the lever that ratchets along this, and I think it really should be painted metallic. I'll paint a whole bunch of colors on this thing. Do this. I mean, I'm going to put this in here like that. Yeah, I guess that'll hold. I might as well do the same thing with this too. Why not? The back is painted. This wheel, I'll just leave the wheel alone. It's painted metal. I mean, it's designed to be metal that was painted, and it's just a wheel. It's a metal wheel with sprockets. I don't see that painting anything else on there would enhance its appearance very much. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to get the dark aluminium. I don't want it to be real bright. I want it to be metallic looking, but not real bright. And let's see if it looks better. I don't understand why that's shiny though. Is it like maybe the paint hasn't dried yet? It's a red color. And I know that it was primed if that was not painted. I'm not really sure. Let's just see how this turns out. Now, I should put this. I'm going to put this other one on here too because it's less likely to get lost. I'm trying to get the paint closer. You can see the detail because it's a little shinier now. Due to this, there's the same sort of thing as a handle that goes around the I need to repaint that gray. And I got some on the inside there, just a little bit. So there's going to be some tiny little dots of gray paint touch up. I'm going to paint the handles a lighter color, maybe just aluminium, and then the knob at the top I'm going to paint black. It's the same color scheme that's used on some of the other bits. Okay, but I've got a hint of metallic on the hub here. The plain aluminium. And if I have this out, I'm going to put a second coat. This is the same color. I'm going to put a second coat on this guy. I'm going to put the second coat on first because of just the volume of paint. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Clip this on and put in my handy dandy alligator clip holder thing. Okay. Let this brush soak, and what I'm going to do is take some of this paint, little bits of it, and it's just the handles. With these tiny bits of paint, the color contrast isn't really clear, is it? Then I just saw a spot that needs a darker color. With the sprockets along the top here, because that's going to show. Now you can see what it's supposed to be doing. I've got little bits that need to be touched up. I think I should make the handles black or not. I think I'm going to leave them the way they are. But I'll need to do some dark gray touching up once that's dry. It'll be just a little bit. So while I'm waiting for that to get dry, I'm going to take these. Yeah, take a chance and take these off. Clean off this brush. And I'm going to repaint the brackets. Get the fun tack back up here. Again. Thick. Open stick. It's actually, yeah, it's the dark aluminium. It's this color. I already had this out, didn't I? Handy. That was handy dandy. I'm going to make it that same color that it was before, but this time without the ridge line. Yeah, it was without the ridge line. I was just looking at it, and it's not there anymore, so that's good. The back of this will be showing. Looks like I very sloppily got it onto the rest of it, which is true. I did. But I want to make sure that the band is fully painted. And then I'll be painting up to it with the plain, that brighter aluminium color. And this too gets clipped on a alligator clip. Yeah, put it to the handy dandy alligator clip holder where it is being held by the alligator clip. This is much darker than that. You can see, which is good because then the band will show. Ugly seam marks on the band now. Okay. Yuck. I'm starting to get congestion earlier than usual. Usually this doesn't happen until like 12:30. But the weather's changing. I had a big front come through yesterday. That was, yeah, it was hard on the allergies. So those are looking pretty decent. I like the way those came out. But there is a lot of gray touching up. The metallic paint just kind of oozed out into spots where it didn't need to be. I wonder how far I'm going to get today. And I can work on the machine guns next. Almost forgot about those. Actually, no, I was going to use steel. Just now I'm knocking all these little bits all over the place. So on the machine guns, there's these little bits here and that there. That I think I'll just leave gunmetal, but these bits here, I'm going to paint darker. I'm going to use the steel on those. I'm going to use the blue wash or not. I put a really light coating of a gray blue wash on this part here. I think I'm going to do that with the machine guns. I was tempted to do the same thing, but I'm not going to. I'm going to let that dry yet for a little bit. I want that metallic to not run. I'm going to find steel. Colors out without putting them away again. Steel is the darkest of the metallics. It's got the most black pigment in it. It looks like what I might be able to do today is I can touch those up and let it dry a bit and then attach them and maybe get the holes filled in. Could almost attach them now before I do the touch up. Tempting to do that. I want to paint the little bits on the machine guns first, and then I'm going to attach those and do the dark gray touch up after that. I think that's the right decision. I don't want to end up being really impatient. I don't want to get I don't want to make a mess of something. On the other hand, when they're attached, I'll be able to see where the touch-up is necessary. Just this tiny bit of a bracket or something on the gun. It's molded on there. I thought I might as well paint it. Hundred times more paint than I needed. So I think I'm actually going to put the blue, just looking at this, I want to put the blue wash on the stocks of the guns. I said I wasn't going to, but now I'm going to. I'm just looking at it, and what it does is it cuts down the gloss, the shininess a little bit. It's just really glittery. I don't want it to look glittery. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Okay, these bits are going to be a challenge, as you saw when I was test fitting them. Oh, huh. There we go. I forgot about this. I forgot about the chair. That's something else I can work on. Okay, yeah, that's got plugged up. Little pinpoint thing here. There's this really thin wire. Threading a needle. Start with the wheel. Whoa. this fits because I test fitted it. There we go. Yeah, there's a little glue on there that's going to shine. That needs to be touched up. This is the right thing to do because then I can touch up the little spots. I don't know if that's dirt on there now. The paint got scratched. So yeah, this is the right thing to do in terms of needing to touch up. Need to get a little bit of gray paint down in there where the cement is showing. The edges where the tweezers took off a little paint. And then there's a piece of cat hair or something here. Doesn't want to come off. Okay. So it goes on there. Get the right one on here. Yeah, it's the little one. Itty bitty one. Okay, I want so little cement on there. I'm actually going to use a pin. But, yeah, okay. Carefully put one's thumb right on that and knock it out of alignment. Okay. I told you there would be sighing today. And there is because I'm thinking cement is getting in there. We'll find out if it sticks or not. Yeah, it happened. It popped off of the tweezers and landed somewhere. I'm going to be gone for a while as I attempt to find that piece. Okay, that was holding it with the tweezers, trying to get it into place, and it popped right off, and it flew this way. So somewhere on the floor is that tiny little piece. don't know. That was like the disaster I was hoping not to have. Is it? I don't know. I think that's it. I can't even really tell. It's so tiny. You are witnessing disaster in the making here. It is. I found it. Man, no, I need to figure out how to get it on there without making that happen again. I'm sure the cement isn't any good anymore. That was that. I'm not going to do that again. Whatever I was attempting to do was not the thing to do. In the thing, but it's not rotated right. That was that was in fact just really scary. Okay. So the wheel is on. This is on. That paint is too shiny. I really, um, I'm going to paint it steel instead of dark aluminium. Once this is set, and before I do the gray touch up, because see, it's just I wanted it to be metallic, but I didn't want it to be that shiny. So I'm going to use the steel color, which is much darker. Then I'm going to wait for the cement to set because I don't want to lose the piece again. Wow. That was not good. That was a not good thing. Definitely a not good thing. Now I have another one. There we go. Well, it doesn't rotate because it's a slot. So that is what it is. Okay. So in looking at these now, I made a couple of decisions. One is that this part that I had painted around the edges, the dark aluminium, is going to be painted steel so that it doesn't jump out quite as much. Okay. And then there's a whole bunch of dark gray touch-up that needs to be done because the metallic paint is getting in the wrong places and that sort of stuff. But and then, wow, that was, I didn't even recognize the piece when I first found it. That was just really frightening. I mean, really. Ooh, and I got a whole passel. Here's a passel. I've got a bunch more of these tiny little pieces. A bunch more of these tiny pieces to do the same sort of thing as paint them multicolored like this. Okay, I still have steel. I have a lot of steel paint out here. And so I'm going to take this shiny stuff around the outside and make it darker. Still be metallic. Yeah, that's much better. It's much better when it's darker like that. I'm going to leave the I'll leave the lever, the brighter color though. Okay, that looks okay. I'll do the same thing to this one. I'm satisfied how that came out. It still has a metallic look to it, in contrast to the flat gray, but it's not so bright and shiny. I'll let that dry, and then I'll do the dark gray touch up. And then at about 10 to quarter to, I'm going to fill in the holes on the back. The cement should be set enough that I should be able to do that. And I've decided I'm just going to use a spackle. It's a flat color, and they're tiny little holes, and it sands easily, and I don't want to spend months sanding an epoxy. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I don't want to spend a lot of time sanding down epoxy and ruining the outside of it. So there, these are now have things on them. Yeah, with the gray touch up, it'll be fine. I'm going to paint the outside of this a second coat because it looks kind of scuzzy. Let's go ahead and use this brush because it's here. Get rid of these. And this one I did duraluminum, which is an intermediate shaded color. I'm using four different shades of metallic here. That's aluminium, that's dark aluminium, that's steel, and this one is going to be in between these two. And when they're all right next to each other, and the light is right, you can see the differences. They're designed for airplanes, okay, and aluminum airplanes that like the flight control surfaces usually have a different metal than the rest of it, and they're different colors. On some of the planes, the flight control surfaces were actually fabric, even in World War II, and so the and then they were painted with an aluminum paint, but they had a real different surface texture and color than. Okay, well that actually made a difference in the appearance of the seat here. A little streaky, but that's okay. So let that dry, and then the seat cushion needs to get painted khaki. It's a color I haven't used yet. There are several things I could do yet today. I could wash this, but as I have said over and over and over again, over and over and over and over and over and over, as it gets near the end of the stream, my focus starts to fade a little bit. My eye-hand coordination starts to fade a little bit. And so I don't want to do that. I need to paint the end caps of this aluminium color so that they're the same color. You can't see them because they're off camera. These are the end caps of the fuel tank, right? So those need to be painted different color, the same color as this, but I need to get the edge of it right where it meets the band that I spent 45 minutes sanding down. That needs to be done. But again, that would require some good skill. There's the filler here. I want that painted a darker color than the rest of it. I could paint it, thinking, that's the filler part, right? I'm thinking I might paint it dark red. I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to take a little bit of a chance. While the cement is still setting and I'm not messing with it, I'm going to take a chance and paint that and see if I can get it to look okay. And I'm not going to paint it bright glowy red. I've got this color called black red, which is good, which is up here somewhere, which would be a really good color. It would give it it would look reddish, but not like bright red. There it is. It's a little risky because I want to get the edges of it right. But I'm going to be pulling the aluminum paint out again to paint these. Be painting those. So if I get some red on the aluminum part, I'll be able to touch it up. So I'm going to paint this dark red. Why not? And then do the dark gray touch up on these bits, and then turn them over and fill in the holes. And let that set until Monday, and then I'll sand it down and touch it up on the other side. And then all of this will be ready for washing with the brown. See how this goes. See if I make a mess of it or not. Pretty good color, right? Okay. Since I'm done talking about the 100 series of fighters and their successors, the single and double digit ones, that line's not too bad. I'll have to see how it looks on Monday. See if I'm satisfied with it. A little bit of the metallic is showing through. I think that's good. Okay, I'm going to let this be known. Look at it again on Monday and see how it looks. Get this clean. Now I need to do the dark gray touch up there's actually a fair amount of touching up to do on these pieces. And once those are done, all mainly on the front, I'll come back to them and fill in the holes in the back. There it is. These are tiny little dots of paint that are going on spots that, like the tweezers scrape the paint off, where the metallic got in the way. Down underneath there's a spot where the cement oozed out, and it's shiny where I don't want it to be shiny. We should have the music playing. There should be some sort of dramatic music playing in the background. Dun, 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 dun. Tiny dots of paint touch-up music. That's pretty close. I want the inside of this thing to be the flat color. Not the metallic steel. The back of this will get touched up when I fill the holes in. That one kind of filled itself in. That one didn't. At this point. Sorry for going so quiet. I always end up going quiet when I'm doing these tiny little touch-up things. It's just, I really need to pay attention to what I'm doing. Well, these little, I forgot about these. There's little covers here. And I want those to be, I'm actually going to use the same dark red that I used on the, I forgot about them. And I might have to do some gray touch up, but if I do more gray touch up, I'll do it when I do the backs, because the backs will definitely need touching up, because I'm going to be filling and sanding. But I forgot about these little toggle switch things, and I'm going to use the same dark red here that I used on the top of the fuel tank. The tiny little like switch covers, I think. I don't know if you can see them or not. So much of the stuff I'm doing, I think, is going to end up being invisible. But, I know it's there, and I'm really trying to make this model look really good by doing detailed stuff like painting steel on there and touching up the dark gray and then looking at it again and seeing that I failed to touch up that one spot that was really easy to touch up. There's just these little bolts on here. This paint dissolved the metal underneath it or what happened, but very shiny. I don't want it to be. Look, I knew there was a spot there. And there it is. Eventually it got covered. Look at this again. Yeah, it is getting time to quit though, because I'm knocking things around. I'm going to bust a piece off. I just know something's going to happen that shouldn't. Let that be now for now. I need to fill in those holes yet. I might end up wrapping up a little bit early today. The things that need to be done are things that I should do when I'm a little fresher. I don't know, maybe maybe I could paint the inside of this chair the khaki color, and then fill in the holes for Monday, sanding and finishing these pieces. So what I'll be doing on Monday is finishing these by sanding down the backs where the holes are, painting the gray, retouching up the yellow, desert yellow. I'll be painting the end caps of the fuel tank, several coats of aluminum. And if that turns out okay, I'll assemble the fuel tank. That should be easy enough. I need to get brave, get the brown wash out, wash these pieces and the inside of the fuselage. I probably don't need to work in this box. And then I've got a bunch of tiny little pieces here that need to be prepped. These are the like control handles and stuff that get installed in here. And then this will be really close to being ready for assembly. So I'm going to let that gray paint dry for just a little bit and pull out the khaki. I don't know if this will need 2 coats or not. I've not used this paint before. Khaki is the inside of the pilot's seat. Number 55. Khaki. Like a medical thing. What is your date of birth? What is your name and date of birth? And you ask that like 17 different times. Over and over and over again. Just to make sure you are who you are. There's a fine line right around the edge of this. Maybe I'll use this little brush. It's a raised line. It should be sort of easy to paint. I don't know. We'll find out. Otherwise, I'll be doing a lot of duraluminum touching up around the edges back and forth. You might end up doing that. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this time of the day. Well, let me start on it and I'll see how it goes. I can always just abandon the effort, I guess. I'm still recovering from having dropped that piece on the floor. That was really, really kind of scary. So is khaki a color or a kind of fabric or both? I can't remember. I thought it was a kind of fabric, but it obviously is presented as a color here. Yeah. Wow. Yep, that's kind of the excitement that happens near the end of the stream. This is why why I've changed it to go from 10 until 1. Because right about this time, things like that happen. I mean, it was one thing, right? It was one thing to lose a tiny little piece. It's another thing to hold on to this paint, this holder thing, and not being able to hold it. It's just the way it is. So I'm going to put this paint on, and then on Monday, see if it needs a second coat or not, and also use my head magnifier to make sure I'm getting the edges nice. So with my poor eyesight, I'm cheating myself here. It's like, oh, this is coming along really pretty cleanly, but I don't know that because I don't know what it really looks like until I put the magnifying glasses on. And for all I know, the edges are not very clean, and the coverage is, I don't know. We'll find out. That's why I'll find out if it needs a second coat. Not the prettiest color in the world. I will use a little bigger brush now. A little bigger brush, a little less brush marks. I'm going to say this is very likely to need a second coat, though. It appears to be one of those paints that when it dries quickly, it pulls itself off. Now I've got a glop on the top. The top here. It pulled itself away. I wonder if I can, I'll try it. Sometimes I can do this. I can like rub it off and smooth it off. Try. Yeah, I managed to get it on the aluminum part there, but I think I can touch that out fairly easily. Dry it, give it a second coat on Monday, see how it turns out. Let's clean some brushes and then get tiny little bits, tiny little spots of spackling to fill in those holes on the backs of these parts. Knocking things over, bumping into things is definitely time. Definitely time to kind of wrap up. Really. You know, I'm seeing things that are so obvious that I needed to have seen them before. It's not even like this needs a second coat. This is like it didn't even get paint on it. There. It either worked or it didn't. Well, yeah, kind of got quiet there as I was trying to do things near the end of the stream. And like I said, I'm going from 10 until 1 without a break usually. Sometimes I might need to do a little quick break. Today I didn't, and usually I haven't. But I get more done than if I try to go from 10 until 2 and then I take a break that goes way too long and then come back and I'm out of focus anyway and can't get anything done. So I think this is working well, and I'm going to continue that. I'm going to continue 10 until 1. The paint isn't coming out of its brush. Yeah, so fill in the holes, and then on Monday, I've got the brown wash to do on all of the fuselage parts, and including these and these. I've got the touching up of the seat, finishing of the fuel tank, and then working on those tiny little bits of control surfaces. More opportunity to drop them on the floor, I guess. Put the seat on there with the other parts. It's out of the way. Get some spackle out. Need to do this. I'm going to now. I'm going to leave the tray here. I'm going to need it on Monday when I'm dealing with the tiny little pieces. I'll definitely be needing it. Get some of the spackle out of here. And then I need to move this. Get these parts back. These are I thought these were radiators. That was wrong. These are machine gun mounts. And they're painted green. I don't know why, but they are. And then there's the Porco Rosso. Oh, oh man. Everything I'm touching is bad. Everything I'm touching is just making a mess. I'm going to just cover those up. There. They're just covered. Okay. On the backs of these, there are tiny little holes that need to be filled in, and I'm going to fill them in with this spackle because it dries pretty quickly. It sands easily. It gives kind of a matte surface texture, but that's okay because this is a matte paint. These parts here. I'm not seeing what I need to see. Mm. Okay. Mostly filled in. And then came through. But what happened there is now I've got spackle all over a detail part where I'm going to have a hard time getting it out. I need to clean that off now. It never. Maybe I should stop at 12:30. I don't know. Cleaning this off because if it dries on there, I will definitely not be able to clean it off. No, there, no. No, it's different than it was before. Okay. Tiny little hole here. Hopefully I can get this into the hole and not get it on everything else. No, it's a very deep hole. All right. Okay, so those will be sanded and painted and touched up, and hopefully those parts will be done, and then I'll put the brown wash on, and hopefully the brown wash will make it all look better and not worse. This is now trash. This is trash. This is a mess on my fingers. Look at, I managed to get spackle everywhere. Dyson Dungeons is a group of family and friends that runs a Dungeons and Dragons show, and you need to watch it. It's on YouTube, and it streams on Twitch on Sundays at about 2 with a live chat. And this is a spin-off from that because it started out doing dungeon tiles. And when it didn't have dungeon tiles or minifigs, I started working on models, and this is the latest one. And now it's sort of happy birthday. I think it was yesterday, right? Or, well, yes, anyway. Oh, you're doing a birthday stream. Congratulations. Thanks for joining in, and I'll see you on Monday. Yeah, thanks for popping in. Happy birthday. Happy day off. I'm glad you had a chance to do that. You live in a civilized country. That's a really nice advantage. And thanks to everybody else who joined in today, watching this not terribly frustrating, but a little bit frightening episode of Relaxing Painting with Dyson Dungeons. Get to watch me scramble on the floor looking for a piece that I dropped. Yeah, so here's just like parts. Let's show you parts. Just parts that will eventually all go together in there and make it look really cool, like the inside of an airplane. In the meantime, take care. I'll see you all on Monday. And if you possibly can, catch our Dungeons and Dragons show. It's really cool. Tell all your families and friends and enemies and acquaintances and people you don't even know how wonderful Dice and Dungeons is and how they should watch the stuff that we do. Thanks for your support. Have a good weekend. See you then.